welcome to the 10 Million in 10 Years podcast. I'm David, your host, and I've got a very special guest with me today, Clive Antony. Welcome back.
Too kind, man. Too kind. How are you?
All very well, thank you. It's great to have you and your gin here on the show.
Thanks, mate.
You didn't have any gin last time.
I didn't have any gin last time. My hair was probably significantly shorter, but we're here now. We're having a bit of fun, and yeah, that's all good, eh?
Absolutely. So there's a few things we're going to go over today. What I really do love is these anniversary editions, give or take.
Yeah.
Especially when the guest brings gin. That's just like the absolute sweet spot. So, I mean, maybe let's just get started on the gin, because I don't think you had it last year, did you?
No, to be honest, it was in the pipeline. So I think the big thing for kind of me and my team and kind of the wider stuff that we're doing in 2023 was very much the just kind of playing it quiet and being behind the scenes with a lot of the stuff that we've been doing. And so basically, the end of 23, basically for 2024 was probably where we've really taken to the market something that Pete and I have been working on for the past few years, is our attempt at a venture studio called the Be Better Group. And the name's a bit of a piss take and a story for another day, but basically it came out of a place of just for common sense for us, really. Like, we were meeting all these cool people through Antony Mates, and a lot of them entrepreneurs and people in startup. And a lot of these businesses were primarily product based, and some of them were pretty novel, and some were just really, really cool. But they were product by nature, and they come to us for our services, and we go, "Hey, look, this is a really cool idea, but we could be a one and done with you. It could be branding or whatever they like, but actually, there's a cool long term journey to be had here. We want to be part of it. We think that you could be a really cool success story." And so basically, the Be Better Group was born, and what we do is, in exchange for marketing services and business advice, we take equity in really early stage product businesses. And Homebody Gin is probably one of those. We had an idea with someone around a sort of gin flavor profile. So they brought the profile to the table, and we kind of bought the brand and the execution of it. And that's kind of where that happened. So 2023 was very much making, the gin was coming to life. Sharenanigans, Ellie, who's been a guest on your show, she was probably, she was the inspiration behind Be Better Group.
Right.
He was someone with a really cool idea. And to build a board game from scratch, what a really cool opportunity for, the Antony Mates creative team to be able to do that, and back a really, really cool founder. So that was us for the past few years, that we're kind of keeping low key about it. And this year was the year we started bringing those products to market. So Homebody Gin's one of them. And again, that was how do you create a gin that obviously tastes really good, but also at that affordable sort of price point in the market. And so, we weren't sort of bullshitting ourselves. We're not gin connoisseurs of like, but we know a tasty drink when we see one.
Yes.
But we also know that we can make a really beautiful looking product. And so we really want to make a gin that tasted great, was affordable, but also something that you'd be really proud to have on your, on your bench top at home, or in your alcohol cabinet, whatever. That kind of really celebrated that beautiful minimalistic millennial aesthetic, which you all still enjoy, but also being a bit different and actually creating a gin that was celebrating, spending time at home. So whether that's with friends or that, just in a quiet night, and having a bit of a fun and play with that type of creative direction. So yeah, it's all been go, man. And there's a few other products coming out in the market, which we'll get to in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. But it's a really cool adventure studio. It's been a really cool energy between the Antony Mates team and I guess these founders, because you really bring to the core what it means to kind of bootstrap a business and bring it to life, and creativity is at the center of that. And it's really, really cool to bring our agency team along that journey, from a startup business, from an idea, into something that's real and it's executing. So it's taking the things that we're really good at as an agency, but actually bringing it out to the world in another way as well, which is cool.
Before we get into the episode, I just want to say a big thanks to my mate Andrew here at Airwolf Forest Motor Company for supporting the episode and the podcast.
We specialise in high-performance British, American and European cars. As a listener and a supporter of David Mel's podcast, I'd invite any listeners to get in touch, have a look at our website, www.efmc.co.nz. Come and see what we've got out here, and we'll take care of you.
I love it. It's a clever model. I guess you've just got to balance it a little bit, fee for service work and the venture type projects.
Yep.
Projects, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, like for me, Antony Mates is my priority, and so that's where I spend, still the majority of my time. And then over time, there'll be a space where we need to bring more people into be a better group to facilitate that thing. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's the people. We wouldn't be where we are without our people, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm super proud of the guys, what they're doing, and the way we're growing as a business, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a fun model, but it is making sure that we get it right between obviously doing the client work that comes to us because we've got the privilege of doing that, but also having fun with the projects as well.
Totally. Yeah, it is a delicious gin. I like it. I rate it.
It's good.
What is the price point? You mentioned an affordable yet tasty yet well-branded product.
Yeah. So we're kind of sitting at that 65 mark. That's the main one for us, and so that really hits that. It's slightly more than a liter Bombay Sapphire or whatever it is, but we're not trying to play with the guys that are just smashing out the park with with the really they've got really beautiful flavors, and they're maybe quite experimental with how they do things and their process. Like they've got their part in the market, and we love them for it.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to go hit the road in the middle. It's the type of thing, like for example, this one here, the pink one, it's called Gathering. So it's like if you're going to the liquor store and there's you go into your mate's place for a dinner, and you're kind of dressed up, but it's maybe not the type of night where you're going to bring a box or something. How cool to bring a really beautiful bottle of gin, and to be able to share that with with a whole group of people and stuff like that. So
yeah,
really
absolutely.
leaning into that kind of that low key sort of thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so is the founder still involved?
Yeah, founder's still involved. And so so they've just got a low key sort of part of it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be kind of front and center of it all. So me and Pete kind of play a bit of a role there. And that's a really cool thing about these businesses, right? Like they all take a brand of their own. Like for example, with Sharenanigans, Ellie is front and center of that one.
Yeah.
And that was a strategic decision that we've made to make her lead as a founder. But in something like sort of gin and alcohol distribution, it doesn't necessarily need to be led by a founder or a face. It's actually the brand that really holds true, and all those other bits and pieces. And so it's cool to be able to try different strategies that you want to try on with clients and stuff like that. And you almost try them on yourself to see if they work, and you can kind of stress test them and stuff.
Yes.
And see how you go. So no, it's cool.
Absolutely.
I was on Sunday night. We had a bit of a games night with the wider Shenanigans team, and people's families were there and their kids and stuff like that. And what was really, really cool, I had a bit of a this is a cool moment where we're at a mate's place, and everyone was playing Shenanigans and they were drinking Homebody Gin.
Wow.
Pretty cool way to have like two products that are actually part of people's lifestyles.
Yeah.
And that's probably the cool thing that I find about product day. It's something that I haven't really done in a while. But it's that was a pretty cool moment.
I love that. Yeah. There's something to be said for that, right? Like, and I guess this podcast enables these types of experiences, like with having Ali on the show, and just, that was at the very beginning of the funding campaign, right? And, I think you made the intro and I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, let's just accelerate this.
Yeah.
So to get maximum reach with the campaign.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. It's
I appreciate the support. And I think anyone who's, Ellie raised just shy of $50,000 in an environment where, it's been recessionary, and people really thinking about the dollar that they're spending. It was really, really cool to see the community actually come out and back her and back the idea. And for us, it was a pretty proud moment. There's someone that we've worked with for 2 years, and just to finally get to a point where, we're going to make this a thing. And while in my mind, I never see a crowdfunding campaign as validation for an idea, because I think the way to figure validation for a business requires more than just a crowdfunding campaign. It was really, really cool to see, I guess, the strength and numbers of people actually really getting behind it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Like you said, is the interesting thing. It's easy to gravitate toward focusing on the campaign, but the real businesses are, the distribution, the sales, the brand itself, right?
Big time. Yeah, it was, and I think that's where we come in at that advisor level, right? It's, you come in and you take a helicopter view of things, and we want our founders to be in that driver's seat and just kind of being super laser focused on what's ahead of them.
Yeah.
And I guess our job at an advisory level is to make sure that we can clear the things that we need to clear out of their way, and then make sure we can open the doors that we need to and stuff. So she's doing a great job. So hopefully Shenanigans lands early November, just in time for Christmas.
Perfect.
And that's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, and you recently came back from China.
Yeah. Ali was really kind, invited Pete and I to come to Shanghai with her to meet the factory. And we were there for 5 days, so super quick. So we left on Tuesday, back in the office on Monday morning. So I mean, you're away for 3 business days. So again, balancing the agency life. But it was pretty cool. I think for me, the biggest takeaway was, and we see this at Antony Mates all the time, it's just the power of showing up. It's one thing to say you can do someone's work, but to be able to look them in the eye and say, hey, look, like, great to have this conversation. Now we understand your goals and your values at a deeper level, and I think we can actually genuinely partner with you and build that rapport and build that relationship. You can't do that. You can do that virtually, but the depth comes from just actually having that face-to-face human connection. And we do that all the time at the agency. And so to do that at a Shenanigans level, physically go to China, meet the manufacturer, break bread with them, just build that rapport, which was pretty cool. Amazing city. Shanghai is literally the greenest city I've been to in my life.
Wow.
The tree canopy there is just out the gate.
Amazing.
It's amazing. Have you been?
No.
Oh, mate.
It's on the list though.
Oh, honestly, worth going.
Yeah, right.
Really, really cool spot.
What was something that stuck out as the big surprising factor that you didn't expect? Was the greenery?
Yeah, I think so. It's something that I probably just said, wow, I just can't believe how green it is. Not to say that I didn't think it would be a green city. I just think, it's the second most populated city in the world. And, the infrastructure requirements for a city like that is pretty spectacular. And, growing up, sort of going to India and been to Dubai a few times, and, you're used to concrete jungles. But, I mean, that balance between being a concrete jungle and just having all that green space was something I thought was really, really fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
And we're not talking like they've just planted trees out of nowhere. Like there's trees there that have got, the massive tree trunks, and they've clearly been there for 100 years or so, you know what I mean? So it's all been very, very considered.
Yeah, right.
Pretty and obviously the food's amazing, and the shopping's pretty cool and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so okay. It was a really, really cool spot.
Yeah, interesting what you say about that whole face-to-face interaction, community building, relationship building. It's something that I've really noticed since starting to do the events, which really wasn't on the radar last time we spoke. Yeah. And that's really morphed into a part of the business and part of what I'm doing. And it's super satisfying just seeing people get together, sharing a meal, sharing breakfast, lunch, and just getting to know one another. Yeah. It's like this hidden link that has been maybe not overlooked, but maybe not totally appreciated for what it is until recently. So
I think it's I can't remember. I'll get this around the wrong way, and someone's going to listen to this and go, yeah, Clive, you got this wrong. But there's this theory around, I think it's called the third space. In a society, for the way for a society to thrive, you need that third space. So obviously you've got your home, and I think the other one's work or be school or something. And then there's a third space that people go to. And that's kind of where a lot of connections are built. And I think traditionally that probably used to happen, at sports clubs primarily, or many sort of clubs or societies that would have happened back in the day. And I think with the world and society evolving the way it has, I think that third space got diminished more and more. I think the pub used to be a third space as well, sort of thing. And now with working from home more, and I guess people's shift to wellness, I think I saw an article around how, the run clubs now very much turning into, it's more about the social aspect of it than it actually is the run. And I think it's really, really important, right? Like, I mean, sure, we're connected so much digitally, but actually how much time are we spending with other people?
Yeah.
So important, eh?
Massive, yeah. Yeah, whether it's the gym or I guess like historically maybe there was more of a emphasis, and nothing against the pub, but I guess the pub was that whole environment, right, where people got together, and maybe it was a combination of the sports and the pub, but now there's alternative house clubs, there's like a whole bunch of different events that have emerged, and it's pretty cool to see. I wonder where it's going to go. Like, I wonder where we'll be at in the next few years. Like, I wonder what the next evolution will be.
Yeah, I mean, something I've thought about a little bit. I obviously it comes down to, I think primarily probably comes down to parents, right? Again, was reading another, I think it was in NBR or something, and they were saying, one of the most important financial decision makers for the household is quickly becoming the 40-year-old millennial. And you think about the 40-year-old in 2024, compare that to the 40-year-old in 2008. Those are two very different people. In 2008, the 40-year-old was probably more likely to be married, have kids, have a mortgage, maybe have two. And nowadays, it's quite different, right? We're seeing people getting married later, maybe not even having kids. They might have a pet. And I guess because we're seeing more couples with, it could be double income with no kids, or maybe a single income and no mortgages and less liabilities, their propensity to spend is it's significantly higher, right? Yeah. So how are they using their money? How are they spending their time? Us as, I guess, marketers and advertising, I'm really curious when I see companies approach us and they go, oh yeah, our target market was looking around that 40-year-old person. Like, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun to really figure out how we can target them and respond to them, make sure that brand voice is authentic.
Yeah.
So I'm paying a lot of attention to that sort of age group now. Really fascinating.
That reminds me, just off on a tangent, and this is part of the parcel here.
Totally,
These tangents are fine,
absolutely.
But I just thought of Bumfer. I thought of Duncan, right?
Duncan, what a lad!
And what a lad!
Guy.
And I thought about that, and I thought, you guys are at the pub, right, talking about branding and marketing and promotion, right? Yeah. And that's how that billboard came about, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
hilarious.
Duncan. I've got to know Duncan over the last year. So obviously one of our clients at Antony Mates is Classic Sportswear. So they're the new Super Rugby provider for all of Super Rugby in New Zealand. And so it was pretty cool to be able to launch them into the New Zealand public at the end of last year. And after, they were really strong with their Super Rugby campaign. The first sort of apparel supplier to introduce heritage jerseys across all Super Rugby. And I think the New Zealand public really responded to them into the market, and obviously got to meet Duncan through Bumfer because he supplied Classic Sportswear to his customers. And it was really, really cool to just sit down with another local guy who's out there doing it. And literally at the pub and going, how do we sell the last these billboards? And we said, hey, look, give it a go. We can sort of organize that for you. And it all happened within the space of kind of 20 minutes. It was up by 10 o'clock the next morning or something.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was him and I sort of just classic shooting the shit, and then Pete rocks up. It was a bit later than all of us, but he comes in with a zinger of an idea, and then it was done. So,
it's so good.
Yeah, it's good fun, eh?
I just love meeting people like that. He walks up to me at IHF and he just introduces himself, shakes my hand, and is like, hey, you're the reason why I'm here. Like, I've listened to the podcast, and IHF is I joined, and I'm like, that's pretty cool.
No,
good. I don't know. I guess everyone's got varying degrees of social skills and balls, I guess. Yeah. But he just came up to me, and I was like, oh, this guy's good. And then we found out he's from the coast, and just had a good old yarn, right? Yeah. And then got him on the podcast because, again, I really just love having this medium to tell stories like that. Yeah. Yeah. So
one thing that I'm doing a lot more now of is if I've got a spare half an hour or an hour before I've got to end my day, I've got something on, particularly in the evening, I don't sit in the office. I either go to my local pub, which is, Victoria Free House. Shout out to those guys. Great people, great curry sauce.
I've never been there, truth be told.
Oh, mate. That curry sauce and Guinness is just too good.
Really?
Too good. And their Scotch egg.
Ooh. Oh. I like their Instagram.
Yeah, it's good, eh?
It's really good.
Yeah, Luke's done a really good job there. And so I go there, and you never know who just never know, right? And I've got my laptop out. Like, it's not like I'm sitting there at the bar waiting to talk to someone. I'm doing my own thing, and you just, someone reaches out, or whatever happens, and you just never know the conversation that you have when you're out. And so for me, the biggest disservice is for my enjoyment is actually just sitting inside somewhere on my own. Like I love just being out and about. And
Yeah.
Christchurch is becoming such a cool city for it. People are keen to give things a go, and
I like that.
That's awesome.
That's cool. So you just go park up, laptop, brew.
laptop, brew, and it's only for like an hour. And don't get me wrong, it's not like it's 100% hit rate.
No,
but I'm still getting
no.
stuff done. Kind of just
But in a different environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a different.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess again, just having conversations like this that open my eyes, maybe the listeners' eyes,
Yeah.
to what's possible.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
mean,
it's a random move for a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I like it though.
well, I don't know. I like being around people.
Yeah.
I hate a quiet office. Like
Yes.
the guys will, they've all got their headphones in and they're just, they're doing the mahi, and I'll rock up and then there's no music on because everyone's got their headphones in. I'm like, nah. So I put on the Yui Boom and I put whatever on that's on Spotify because I just need that background.
You need something. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when everyone's away at the end of the day and it's just me, I'm going, oh no, I'm going to get nothing done here.
I'm out of here.
I need to get out.
Yeah.
You get out and about. So
No, I like it.
yeah.
Cool. And so where's the next 12 months going, do you predict? In terms of both the Be Better group, in terms of Antony and Mates?
Yeah, it's interesting, I think, like we've been in some pretty tough economic times, right? Like things have been tight. And so we've been trying to be really smart as an agency, just like serving our current clients have, again, given us that, in my mind, it's a genuine privilege, right? To be in service of other people. Making sure that we can work for as hard for them as possible, and just doing that really, really well has allowed us to see ourselves through so far. So just keep doing the good work and just not trying to like scale quickly or change tack, and just be really honest with the work that you've got in front of you and do that the best you can.
Yeah.
And while that happens, while it's been really exciting to launch Gin and Shenanigans and a few other bits that are coming. It's probably just solidifying them and make sure that those founders are really happy with where they are and how they can grow, and just doing. I think the aim for 2025, it's everyone's talking about survive to 25, but in my mind, it's actually just use 25 to do bloody well. And bloody well doesn't necessarily mean scale crazily. It just means do what you're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And so for what that looks like for me is just obviously growing as a leader. We're a team of 11 now at Antony Mates, and that's really, really cool. And that changes, doesn't necessarily, it changes my focus, but probably expands on it, right? Like there's obviously a sales and a stakeholder relationship role that I have to do, but also there's a team that are amazing, and I need to make sure I can do what I can to make sure they have the best experience with us while they're at the agency. Probably just a big lens of servant leadership, I think, is where I'm taking into 2025. The long game for me is actually quite exciting. It's probably only recently I've managed to kind of internally articulate what I want to do in the long game. And luckily for me, that involves Antony Mates and then I guess Be Better Group in the parallel. And you're kind of going, I think we talked about in the last podcast around how exciting Christchurch is, right? Like, we're literally looking at Te Kaha and how that's growing and how much that's changed in, less than 12 months. People are moving down here. People are just excited about Christchurch. And I think of that momentum that we've got now, and I really want to be part of that. I want to be able to look back in, 20, 30, 40 years and go, yeah, like this city is the best city in New Zealand, and I was a key contributor to actually making that the best city in New Zealand. And how do I do that? And right now it's actually building a really strong creative agency that challenges creative thinking and design thinking in Christchurch and for New Zealand businesses and global businesses. But then also, how do we, boost our economic development in the city? Well, that's just by, getting businesses to grow, getting them to expand. And if we can grow a Shenanigans, grow a gin company, grow a few other bits and pieces, and allow those founders to employ more people and become big businesses in their own right and be part of their journey as well, we'll slowly turn our city into this really cool economic power hub. And if I can contribute that way, that's what really motivates me. So yeah, it was cool to get that clarity over. I don't know how I got it. It just kind of just came, it's
Pub session.
Well, probably, yeah, most likely, probably a gin tasting. It's probably just an accumulation of, the last sort of 7 years of the business journey. And then you're talking to heaps of people, and then it kind of just, the penny just dropped and going, hey, we've Antony Mates it's bigger than just me now, right? There's people involved, and we've been around for a few years that we've got a reputation, and whether that's good or bad, it seems to be going right so far. But how do we use our team and our skill set to actually make a really positive impact in the city? And that's what's really, really important to me. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's cool to get that clarity, right? So now I know what my long game is. 2025, 2026 is just kind of like, it allows me to take the time to do things really, really well because there's a long-term goal there. So it's pretty cool to get that clarity this year, I think.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. It allows you to tune out other things, right? Other distractions, and really laser in on,
exactly.
I guess, the brands underneath the portfolio, but then also, as you say, just being good at what your core business is, providing as much value as possible, and really leaning into that. And I think with that comes growth, but in a natural sort of manageable way, right?
Yeah. And the way we've built the business is very much around, I guess, referral and I guess, repeat business, because our delivery was obviously good enough and satisfactory. People want to come back.
Yeah.
And, we can't change that model. That's who we are. That's what we're known for.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be a really tough challenge as I guess, the key salesperson in our business. You want to put ads out, you want to do bits, and, you want to scale like this, but actually the business that we're trying to build isn't that exponential one. It's the slow and high quality sort of stuff that we're doing.
Pretty linear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The whole dichotomy between rapid growth and just doing the right thing over extended amounts of time, right?
Yeah.
And I had someone on the podcast recently. We were just talking about that and how they've got a solar business, right? So I'm like,
cool.
Well, this is cool. Like I'm into this, right?
Yeah,
I'm curious. Like I want to know selfishly, how it works. What's the economies? How does it look, right?
Yeah.
Where do you go? Is it where's the sweet spot?
Yeah.
Do you go real heavy, or do you just start lean and then scale, et cetera, et cetera? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm into it as well. Like that's one reason why we expanded the traditional electrical business into solar, is that I'm a believer in it. And so it's a really easy, organic way to grow into lean into something that you love.
Yeah.
So I think that's the takeaway here is just to get pretty firm on where you're heading, what you want to be good at, focus on the product, whether that's product or service.
Totally.
But just be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man. Throw it back to you. What's 2025 looking like for you, man?
Well, I mean, recently I've had a similar epiphany, not in terms of doing anything radically different, but just being better at what I do, right? Like being a better business coach, being more, I've always been value centered, but just adding on to that, trying to add as much value as possible, which is cliche in a way, but it's true.
Yeah.
I really want people, when they work with me, they just love the experience, they get value, and they see that invoice and it's a pleasure to pay. Yeah. It's not a burden, it's not a dread. And so, it looks like continuing doing what I'm doing with the one-on-one coaching, scaling somewhat, continuing doing the events, which, as I say, that's been hugely satisfying.
Yeah, it's been cool to see, just watch from afar and to see them grow right online, and there's just more people going, but also the same people coming back because they're clearly they're getting value, that repeat business, and
totally
that community building that you're doing. It's cool to see, man.
It's cool when now that I've got the Humanitics profile and there's people that follow the account, and so as soon as I post a new event, they'll get notified and instantly sales start coming in.
Cool.
So it's almost as satisfying as e-commerce, and that getting automated transactions going.
Hit, hey?
It's a bit of a hit.
Get that
dopamine hit. Exactly. But it's probably going to continue to morph, I think, having done the lunches, more of a networking vibe, to then the education ones, just kind of out of necessity, and that the lunches weren't the right environment to have education, essentially. Too loud, too chaotic, more social, more networking.
Yeah.
And so, I'm curious about what the next iteration looks like. whether it's more of a larger format event or if it's more just doing more just volume. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Cool, man.
I would like to do more of a larger format event, and I think I might have committed to that on the previous episode of the podcast, to do 1,000-person event.
1,000-person.
Yeah.
Where would you do that?
At
You have to do it to Pi.
Yeah.
You have to do it to Pi.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or you have to go out to Lincoln Event Centre, which is basically where all the Indian weddings and Christchurch happen out there, right?
Is that right?
Yeah. Had a few invites, the ones out there.
Right.
Because they're just massive, right? Like the whole community comes out and they're just
Gotcha.
full of beans, eh? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I saw this LinkedIn post recently with a connection that was on an event in the States, and it was like was it a 5,000 or 7,000 person event? It was one of those large scale American events, right?
Yeah.
Classic seminars, not Tony Robbins, but someone like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a good amount of energy in there, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be good.
Pretty cool.
Can we take a little bit of that and bring it here?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, we don't hype here, eh? We're not
really
hype beasts around here.
No.
I don't know why. I can't. I mean, it's clearly, just sort of based on, I guess, how we've just operated. Right, we're all very kind of low key. We go about our business and
a bit more conservative.
Yeah. Oh, conservative. I think just because New Zealand's just effectively a small town, right?
True.
Everyone knows everyone, and so. I guess it's harder, and that's probably where the whole tall poppy thing comes from, right? Like it's hard to anything that looks like energy looks like bravado, and I think that will change over. I mean, it clearly is changing, right? I look at my young cousins coming through, and particularly ones that live, not just in Christchurch, but the ones in Auckland and stuff as well. Big like multicultural schools. So you got, everyone from sort of Asia, Southeast Asia, South America, and obviously New Zealand and stuff like that. But there's so much American culture coming through what they listen to and what they consume, and from a media perspective.
Right.
And you just see that American bravado coming through, and they're just that much more confident.
Interesting.
That much more louder.
Right.
They get hyped for the NBA and stuff in ways that we probably didn't do it growing up. And,
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's real fascinating.
So they've been consuming a certain amount of North American content.
I'd say so.
And that's transcending
100%.
into the...
I've got cousins that have got born and brought up in New Zealand, like in the North Island of New Zealand, like pretty standard where you go and sort of vibes. And there's American twang to their accent. And their parents are from India, so there's not like they've got the parents have American accents or anything like that. And it's purely comes down to media consumption.
Wow.
And it's unreal.
That is unreal.
And it's not like full blown, but the twang's there, right? You can
Right.
just see the inflection and the way they start or finish words and stuff like that. Really, really fascinating.
I actually had that recently with someone that I could have sworn I heard an accent, but no.
Yeah.
No, it was a Kiwi accent.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Wild, eh?
I guess it's just a factor of any environment we're in long enough, and
totally.
whether it's online or in person.
Yeah.
Interesting. Any dreams of doing your own podcast?
I dabbled way back in 2020 actually, because I've got real big interest in politics, and so I think there's a couple of episodes somewhere online that's probably going to embarrass me one day. And it was just around political musings, and talked to a few political candidates, but also just talked to, I guess, people that were adjacent to business that were getting involved in policy work and other bits and pieces as well. And I found that really, really interesting. And to be honest, it just came out of a place of just genuine interest of what does policy making and policy building look like. But would I want to make my own podcast? Probably not. Not at this stage. Don't mind being on them and having a bit of a yarn. But it just comes back to that focus piece, right?
Yeah.
Like if when you know what your long game is, you can have all these side quests, but you got to make sure it's the right side quests, I guess.
For sure.
And a podcast is definitely not on the cards.
No, it's no light endeavor either.
No, it's intensive, right? In terms of time and capital and production. I've got a production team in house. In theory, it could be easy, but it's not. Like we've rather be working on really cool creative campaigns and listening to the soulmate here spinning a yarn about something, So, yeah, no, it's cool to be on them for sure, though.
That's right. Yeah, I asked that question. I had a feeling there was some form of experience, or there was something around a podcast.
Yeah. There was a dabble.
Had to clarify that.
There was a dabble. for sure.
Yeah. Where do you think the medium will go? Maybe not in terms of solely podcasts, but like YouTube content, long form, short form. Where's your predictions over the next year? I know that's not a long time when it comes to a trend like that, but where do you think it will go? Like we've seen obviously TikTok, we've seen Reels, we've seen certain things happen over the last year.
Yeah.
Where do you think it'll go in the next 12 months?
I mean, it's just like kind of anything, right? And it's straight up diversification, and the targeting becomes way more interesting. So I think gone are the days of, I guess, where we had Meta, and that was like the omni channel. Like you had to be on Facebook if you wanted to do anything in digital marketing. I think it's very much now becoming a horses for courses sort of space. When I kind of do talks and other stuff with clients and bits, you kind of go, in my mind, Meta, in particular Facebook, is really, really good for that 50 plus market. We just saw post-COVID, basically a big swing in particularly grandparents jumping onto Facebook, because the only way to see photos of your grandchildren during your lockdown was to befriend your children on Facebook, right? And so once we saw that come live, we've just seen them stay around. And so Facebook's really, really good for those older generations. And that's why you see a lot of that happening in political media. So political campaigns are still not solely, but predominantly based on Facebook, because particularly in New Zealand, older generation votes. And now we can reach them on digital like we never have before. Instagram, again, that's my go-to for millennials and that demographic. LinkedIn is obviously a very commercially minded, business people that want to have those deeper conversations on LinkedIn. I still think people who go onto LinkedIn with really strong sales content probably don't get the ROI that they want in terms of brand, or particularly in revenue. And then TikTok's just crazy in a great way. Like it's amazing how the algorithm can get you into the vertical that you actually genuinely want to be in that niche. We've seen the organic algorithm probably start to dip now in the same way that a lot of those other social media platforms did after a certain period of time. And they'll probably start going to some serious, ad spend sort of situation at some point in the future, because that just kind of makes sense in how it goes. But again, from a short-term consumer perspective, really, really cool. I like to sort of compare TikTok to YouTube in the sense that there's by far more viewers on TikTok than there are creators, the same way of YouTube. A lot of people consume YouTube, but that ratio to creators is significantly less. Mm-hmm. And then YouTube's obviously great for long form, and they're giving the shorts a go, and they're pushing the algorithm for people to do it. I've seen, I think it's now for the last 8-9 months, you can now watch YouTube shorts on your big screen TV at home. They can be casted in now, and I think they're now native to the YouTube app within TVs too. So that's interesting. I find that fascinating. So I think it's just very diversified, right? And some of the businesses that we work with at Antony Mates, we're really starting to see very, very clear platform strategies per different social media platform. For example, TikTok, is really, really good for that raw organic content. So if you're a founder, you would be putting your founder behind the scenes content, very, very led by you on TikTok. Instagram, again, if you've got a millennial bent to what you're selling, I'd be making content that kind of fits that, and don't even put your founder stuff there at all. I use Facebook very much as a shop window, as a bit of a checkout, so that's really great for those older people. And LinkedIn is very much if you're trying to become a thought leader in your space. That's kind of a very, very broad strokes of how I'll describe those, but it's interesting now with the businesses that we work with, how clearly defined the content strategies are per a different platform. Whereas, a long time ago, people used to smash them all on the same thing, which wasn't good practice, but people did it.
No, that's right.
Now it's becoming like, you just genuinely can't. It's horses for courses.
Yes.
So I think that's where it's going to happen, right? And then how AI fits into all that, that's going to be fascinating too. Don't really have a read on it, to be fair.
No, it's sort of anyone's guess, isn't it, at this point? Yeah.
I mean, it's how that's going to affect search engines is probably the big one for me. It will be really, really fascinating.
I wonder if it will enable longer form content to be edited easier. Like
big time.
Podcast, for example, like that's
already,
happening
right?
already.
You get the transcript and you just delete the bits of the clip you want based on deleting the transcript. Like
exactly.
It's great.
So I wonder if that'll allow for more people to do, say, longer form YouTube content, which has previously been unavailable.
Yep, true.
So
true, and people's time for long form content as well. Like, I mean, I can't remember the last time I listened to a podcast in full in one hit. Right.
Neither.
Now it's just you get through a podcast over a bigger period of time, and there's probably a proximity of the further your drive is into your workplace, the more podcasts you can listen to in all seriousness.
I'm sure.
And so that's kind of fascinating, right?
What about yourself as a consumer? What do you personally consume more of?
I've got this weird, like, I oscillate between super boomer and like super Gen Z. So I love TikTok, but man, give me News Talk ZB. I'm there for it.
You're into it.
I'm driving into town with Hosking, and I'm going home with Heather Duplessis Allen like every day without fail.
Okay.
And if it's a boring ad, it's a boring topic, I'm switching to George FM.
Right.
And then it's just, and then I'll just if I'm bored, TikTok comes up first, and then there's a bit of Instagram in there. So I've part of my job is kind of consume and kind of watch everything, but I love radio. I love talkback. Always have. I was an avid radio sport kid growing up. I remember there's a talk show. He's on ZB now. Oh, still. His name's Darcy Watergrave, and I remember when he was doing like the night shift on Radio Sport way back when I was a kid, and kind of went through his career. Now he's on drive time, and he's on nights talking about sport. And so ever since I was like 10 or 12, I've been listening to talkback radio and just really enjoyed it. It's funny hearing other people's perspectives that you might not necessarily hear on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Yeah, gotcha.
So it's really fascinating. Right?
Okay.
It almost gets you out of your echo chamber and puts you into another one.
I was going to say, it's almost that community element
there is
kicking in, right?
There really, really is. Particularly like on Monday nights I'd play hockey, and sometimes the games finish at 9:30, and then you're driving home and you listen to talkback, and some of the stuff that they're talking about and the people they're calling in, those are people that I'll never really be in touch with on a day-to-day basis, but it's really important to hear other people's perspectives, even if there's talkback and it's probably one extreme of a conversation. I really enjoy it. So
it's another reference point, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it definitely is. So it's I love a talkback.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about podcasts? Do you listen to any?
Also got yours on the save, and then there's one called Gone by Lunchtime, which is like a political one coming out of Wellington, and that whenever that one comes up, that's really, really cool. And I mean, at the moment, nothing really much other than that.
No.
The conversation stuff's really, really cool. I dabbled in audiobooks for a bit, but I was trying to do audiobooks when I was doing something else, whether it's vacuuming or something, and I literally just had no idea what I was consuming. I think I've listened to Matthew McConaughey's autobiography, but I couldn't tell you anything. I couldn't recall any of that.
No.
So what's the point?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm much the same. I do listen to a number of books, but the retention or the comprehension is pretty low, if I'm honest. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm not sure what the expectation should be. Like whether you should remember every chapter or
I don't know.
Have like the ability to summarize it. I don't know. I guess if you're able to get one thing or to like take away one thing, then that's kind of a win. But I mean, what's the opportunity cost though, right?
Exactly.
What else could you be doing?
Well, 100% right. And then I think now I guess I've kind of come into another wave of music, and just getting back into music again. I think, for the longest time I was listening to like the Spotify daily lists that are coming through and not really understanding like the artists that I was listening to, and it very much felt like just mass consumption of music because it was just so accessible. But now I'm just trying to go back into, re-experiencing artists that I listened to growing up and just enjoying it like literally track to track without shuffle and just doing that thing again.
Okay.
So I'm back on that phase now.
Cool.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
and yeah, a bit more intentional,
Yeah.
which is quite cool. And yeah, no, it's good fun.
Seems like curiosity is a part of who you are.
Yep. Actually, that's I never really thought of that. Yeah, that's fair.
Rather
Yeah, probably,
than
right.
rather than going along with either the past or looking at trends or whatever everyone else is doing, but
Yeah.
actually being a bit more intentional.
Totally right. I think I'm always just I'm fascinated by people's context, because your context is what shapes you, right? And the only way that you can actually really connect with someone is understand their context, who they are, and how you can actually enjoy being around them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I've said this way too much this week. I heard this quote like it was a month ago, and it's that the comparison is the thief of joy. And man, I'd never heard that until like literally a month ago. Apparently, it's this very famous quote. I'd never heard it, but it just resonated with me so much.
Yes.
You know, it's just again like penny drop moment. Like wow, like I can think of so many, people in spaces I've been in, and it's just comparison, and you just suck the joy out of it.
100%.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I've never really been like that.
No.
It's probably that curiosity thing that you kind of alluded to. You just fascinated.
Yeah. There's always a bigger boat, right?
Yeah.
There's always something or
Yeah,
someone that's better or bigger or
Yeah.
richer or whatever, right?
Yeah, but everyone's got their thing. Like
Yes.
like you gotta. Yeah, you can't suck the humanity out of it, eh?
I like that.
Yeah. So
What's your thoughts or take or usage of AI?
love it.
Yeah.
Don't pay for any like ChatGPT or anything like that. Probably should give it a go and see what it's like. But I mean, for example, like the free GPT that's available, like it's great. Like absolutely love it. Use it. I mean, a lot of my job now is, again, like we talked about, it's more about, people and culture and bits and pieces. But the work that I do, if there's a way to use AI, I kind of back myself as a good prompter.
Yeah.
Really
Nice.
take the time to build out what that prompt needs to look like and make sure that I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
That's good. Like the guys use it at work. I remember there was a client that came to us must be like a year, 18 months ago. And they were writing blogs and like, oh, look, we'll write the blogs for you and give the price. And then they're like, oh, we'll take the blogs away. I'm like, oh, but don't worry. As outlined, that's not going to change the price because we've said we use AI and we were upfront about it. Like for us, the blog is more about an SEO play than it is about actually being a thought leader.
Right. Yeah.
So you weren't paying for a copywriter, you're paying for an SEO specialist in that regard. And we're just really upfront about that. But if people want us to write for them to build that thought leadership, then we would spend the time. I don't think AI is there to do that original creative thinking yet.
No.
Just because it's regenerative based on history, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will it get there? Yeah, probably, most likely. But we're using it at the moment. We love it. It's really good to question and challenge thinking and stuff like that. I really enjoy it when I write a press release or something. I'll put into ChatGPT and ask it to give me its opinion on the tone that's coming through. And that allows me to analyze if I'm happy with the words that I've used and is that the tone that I want to convey and stuff like that. So I like it as a review tool as opposed to an ideation tool. But yeah, no, love it. And we all use it and it's great.
Yeah. Any other platforms or primarily ChatGPT?
Primarily ChatGPT. What are we giving a go? I mean, Copilot looks really amazing. We don't use it. I know people that know it really well and they use it well, but it's not something I've been amongst it. At a production level, there's Adobe's doing some really interesting things with AI. Again, it probably it doesn't, if there's a job that's going to take, if there's a design job that's going to take 10, 12 hours, and there might have been a real finicky bit that might have taken probably 3 hours, that reduces it to seconds, but there's still the other 9 hours of creative thinking and actually building of the asset that needs to be done.
Yes.
So it's not going to replace designers for sure, but it's going to be the classic, right? AI is not going to take your job, but someone who knows how to use it will.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
I think that's playing out at the moment, pretty strong.
Yeah.
But it's far out, man. What it can do is pretty unreal.
It is wild, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think the more you use it, like I had been a free user until about 2 months ago.
Yep.
Made it a commitment to pay for it. Not a huge expense, but I figured like if I'm going to pay for it, I'll probably be more prone to use it.
Yeah.
Because I like value.
Yeah.
And so I leaned in, and just the amount of different use cases I've found just through using it and being more proactive, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the level of just like the level of detail I can handle, like especially using the dictation function. So just being able to speak into it and ask it a gazillion rambling thoughts, analyze this, process this.
Dictation function yet.
Oh, it's a game changer. Yeah.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
it's accurate to probably 99%. Like
right.
It doesn't really miss a word.
It's impressive.
So if you think about how Siri is effective as of recording,
right.
quite mediocre.
Yeah, okay.
This is infinitely better.
Well, let's give it a go.
And then you can get it to read back to you aloud.
Yeah, cool.
So if, say, not that I'd ever use a mobile device while driving, but if you were, you could get it to read it to you.
Yeah, okay. So do you use the ChatGPT app?
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah. So $40 a month, and I've been loving it.
Happy days, man.
Curious, yeah. I'm curious to see where it can go. Like I think it will just get. There's a new one out recently-ish in the last few days or a week or whatever.
Yeah.
But getting it to be able to handle like attachments, so like spreadsheets or Word docs and that, it's crazy.
Yeah, cool.
Crazy effective.
Yeah, right. No, okay. I will have to try dictation then.
So that'll be a fun thing, actually. Your predictions for AI and how we're going to be integrated in the next 12 months. Because it's going to be fun to look back on this episode.
Oh, and go, this guy, he's just full of
September
shit. He
2025.
doesn't know what he's talking about. He's absolutely full of shit.
But nobody really does, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's the fun part.
I'm really fascinated to see Apple's big song and dance about Apple Intelligence.
Yeah. I'm bullish on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they need to be. They need to come out and actually bring out something. Like I've got I had an iPhone 12 for like the last 4 years, and it was honestly, it's on its last legs. It was properly dying.
It's struggling.
It was battling. And then just before going to Shanghai, which is 2 weeks before the 16 came out, and I was like trying to hang out for the 16. Like, nah, they're going to do the game changer here. But this 12 was just like battling. I was like, I give up. And so I bought a 15. And I was like, if the 16 comes out and it's this wicked cool thing, then all right, classic. You took a punt and you missed out. But I was pleasantly stoked that when the 16 came out, it was really not that much different to my 15. And I think Apple just need to they got to nail this Apple Intelligence thing, or I don't know. I mean, it's going to start. I think people are starting to get bored of their products, and if they're not making their products interesting, they must be backing that they've got people in their ecosystem, and it's too hard to leave. But what's that?
Are you in the ecosystem like deep?
I'm deep. And to be fair to them, the new MacBook update's pretty cool, and how you can mirror your phone on your screen. And I've been using that a lot in the past few days, and I've got a MacBook and an iPad, and I can kind of like use that as an external monitor. And so that's really, really cool. So I feel like all my devices are genuinely connected through now. So if they add the AI in the cake, then I think they've nailed it. But it'll be hard.
Yeah. When is it? December it's out, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah. Let's see if we get it right. But yeah. If anyone's going to crack it, it's going to be Apple. Let's see if they can do it.
True.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
It feels like it's moving pretty fast. Like I would be pretty confident. I would think that in a year's time, I think the Apple Intelligence will be so well integrated. Yeah. I don't know much about Copilot. I haven't used it, but in theory, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, totally. Being able to sort through your actual content.
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows?
See what happens, eh?
Yeah. Indeed. Very good. Well, that's good.
Cool, man.
Any thoughts? Wrap it up?
No, not really. Just cool to see where you're going, man. Like it's
thank you.
What'll be a year later. And just cool to kind of just watch from the side what you're doing, and see to bring guests like Duncan and stuff like that, and obviously Ryan a few weeks ago, and it's cool to see that there's a podcast coming out of Christchurch that's actually talking to people, and and you can just see there's that collective will to actually run to work together.
Yeah.
So that's really, really encouraging. So no, man, good stuff, man. Keep it up, and always keen to hang around and have another yarn maybe in a year or so's time. And
Totally.
let's see what we got right and probably what we got wrong.
Yeah.
See what happens, eh?
I think that's the fun thing, and just relating back to what you said earlier about being committed to one particular thing, like with the podcast, having 2 years in now and another 8 to come. Like it's pretty what's the word? Like it's a relief to know that it's going to happen. Yeah. Like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so both for like a recap episode perspective plus like a sponsorship perspective, it's just a nice peace of mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's here to stay.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
No, good stuff.
Very good. Awesome, man. Well, thank you. Thank you for the gin. I appreciate it.
All good, bro.
Where can we buy it if someone wants to buy it?
Fair play. There was no plug. I'm going to do all the plugs now. Sorry, team. So if you want to buy your gin, available at homebodygin.com, but also available at all the key retailers around Christchurch and a few around New Zealand. But our website will have all the retails on it. But then also plug for Ali and Shenanigans. Pre-orders are out now on shenanigans.com.
Cool.
So feel free to have a Google, and if you want to buy a board game, great Christmas gift for all the family. Get amongst and support a really cool founder as well.
So good. Yeah. Love it. No, awesome, man. Happy to have you on the show.
Cheers,
absolutely love it. I love the product placement. Like I'm all about this. Right? This is good. This is a lot of fun. So we'll see you back in about a year's time.
Sounds good, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool.
See you later.
Go well, guys.